Beloved, I don't come today with ordinary words. I come carrying a divine urgency, a weight in the spirit. This isn't just a message. It is a warning for the chosen, for those marked by God, for those who have been consecrated for such a time as this. The dates July 11 through July 19 are not just numbers on a calendar. They are windows, gateways. In the natural, they may seem like any other days, but in the spiritual, they are volatile atmospheres. I'm here to tell you, not everyone will understand, but those who are sensitive to the voice of the Spirit, you will feel the tremble in your soul even as I speak. There is a stirring in the heavenly realms. The enemy is setting traps that look like opportunities, false alignments masked as divine connections, distractions that carry the fragrance of destiny but lead only to delay. And if you are not anchored, you will drift, not because you are weak, but because you were unaware. This is not the week to be casual. This is not the time to go with the flow. No, this is the hour of intentional stillness, of heightened discernment. You will feel the pressure to act, to respond, to move. But listen to me. Not every open door is from God, and not every closed door is demonic. From July 11 to 19, God is asking his chosen to come away, to pause, to fast if he leads you, to shut the door and hear what he is whispering. Some of you are on the brink of decisions that seem small but will have eternal weight. He wants to protect you from unseen sabotage. He wants to reveal what your eyes cannot yet see. And hear this, during this period, you may feel misunderstood. You may feel isolated. You may even be tempted to doubt what you heard from God. But that is the strategy of the adversary, to make you question your clarity, your calling, your covering. Do not give him access through your emotions. Guard your gates, your peace. Guard your posture. There is a remnant rising, and this remnant will not be shaken because they know the voice of their shepherd. So stay hidden in him, stay rooted. What the enemy planned for July 11 to 19 will backfire, but only if you obey the instruction to pause, to pray, and to perceive. You are not frozen. This is your divine heads up. Respond in obedience and watch what God preserves you from. July 119 is not simply a span of days on a calendar. It is a spiritual checkpoint for those who walk closely with God. Those who carry a divine assignment, this period requires an alertness beyond the physical. It is a time when the atmosphere becomes charged not just in the natural, but especially in the spirit realm. If you are among the chosen, you must be spiritually awake and tuned in. This is a season of divine interruption, where God is sounding an alarm, not to create fear, but to position you for preservation and clarity. There are moments in life when heaven interrupts earth, not with fanfare, but with a whisper. And in these 9 days, the whisper is urgent. God is looking for those who will not only hear, but respond. The kind of alertness he is calling for is not born out of fear or anxiety. It is born out of love. Love for his will, love for his voice, and love for his people. You see, when God gives a warning, it is always tied to something he is trying to protect. Sometimes it's your peace. Other times your direction. But often it is your destiny. Many will go about their days as usual. They will make plans, sign deals, start conversations, and embrace opportunities without knowing they are stepping into something that has not been purified in prayer. A church. But the chosen, those who have trained their ears to hear the subtle shift in the spirit, will pause. They will not lean on their own understanding. They will be still. They will ask the Holy Spirit, is this for me? Is this from you? And in that stillness, revelation will come. Not as a church, the alertness God is requiring in this hour is not rooted in striving, but in surround about overanalyzing every step, but about being sensitive to the old timing and nudging of the Spirit. Sometimes that alertness will look like pulling away from people who usually bring comfort. Not as a church. Sometimes it will mean declining invitations that seem harmless. Sometimes it means saying that now, when everything in your flesh wants to say yes. But when you obey, not as a church, you will see what God was protecting you from. There's a reason the Spirit is speaking with such urgency. There's a shift in the atmosphere. There's a clash of kingdoms. What is seen and unseen, and the chosen cannot afford to sleep through it. God is placing his people on spiritual watchtowers. Church, he is awakening those with intercessory vision, prophetic insight, and discernment that cuts through appearances. It's not for status, it's for safety. It's for clarity. It's because something greater is coming, and your ability to walk into it untainted will depend on your alertness in this time. So don't minimize the nudge to pause. Don't ignore the unrest in your spirit. Lean in, be watchful. You're not being paranoid, you're being protected. And your obedience now will unlock peace later. During this sacred window of 11 to 19, one of the most dangerous traps the enemy will set is the illusion of divine opportunity. These are not blatant attacks, not as they are subtle setups, decoys dressed in the garments of destiny. The enemy is cunning, and he understands that for those walking closely with God, not as a church, he cannot easily destroy them through obvious sin. Instead, he presents a counterfeit that looks close enough to God's will that, if you are not discerning, you will embrace it and call it a blessing. These deceptive opportunities may come in the form of new relationships, open doors, sudden invitations, or seemingly divine alignments. They will flatter your purpose. They will speak to the desires of your heart. They may even come with words that sound prophetic. But beneath the surface, they carry a weight of distraction and delay. Their purpose is not to bless you, but to pull you out of position, out of the rhythm of obedience, out of the timing of God. It is essential in this season to test every opportunity. Not everything that says, God sent me, is truly from Him. The enemy knows how to mimic the language of faith. He knows how to appear as light. That's why your ability to discern will be your most vital weapon. Don't be rushed. Don't be impressed by appearance. Don't move because it looks right. Move only when you have peace in your spirit and confirmation from heaven. For some, the deception will come through familiar faces, people you trusted, voices you followed. And yet the timing of their entrance in your life is not ordained. They are being used unknowingly as distractions. They may carry good intentions, but not God's intention. This is not the hour to lean on emotions or history. It is the hour to weigh everything in the spirit. Pray over the phone call before you answer. Sit with the invitation before you say yes. Ask the Lord, is this an assignment or a distraction? God is not keeping good things from you. He is guarding the purity of your path. Not as a church, because what looks good in this moment may become a snare in the next. The enemy is strategic. He studies patterns. He knows your desires. That's why he will wrap distraction in packaging that speaks to your longings. If you have been praying for connection, he will send a counterfeit connection. If you have been seeking financial breakthrough, he will offer a shortcut wrapped in compromise. You must remember, not every good thing is a God thing, and not every timely thing is on God's timeline. This is a moment to elevate your discernment, to refuse to be impressed and instead be led by the Spirit. Not as a church, you are too close to your promise to fall for something that looks divine but leads to delay. Walk slowly, ask deeply, move only when God says, this is me. In this sacred and sensitive period between July 11 and 19, the Lord is calling his chosen ones into intentional stillness. It is a divine pause, not a delay, not a punishment, but a purposeful stillness where heaven desires to speak clearly and without interference. In a world that praises hustle and movement, this call to be still can feel like a contradiction. But the Spirit is not asking for inactivity. He is asking for alignment. This is the moment to step back, quiet the noise, and recalibrate your soul to the frequency of heaven. Stillness is not silence. It is space. Space for God to speak. Space for clarity to rise. Space for your spirit to recognize what your flesh has been too busy to see. In this hour, many are at a crossroads, faced with choices that may appear routine, but are actually spiritually significant. And if you are moving too fast, you will miss the nudge. You will overlook the whisper. You will bypass the warning. That's why God is saying, come away with me. Be still. Sit with me. Church, I have something to show you. There are answers you've been seeking that will not be found in activity, but in intimacy. God is not in the rush. He's in the rest. As a church, that's where revelation flows. That's where divine insight is birthed. And in these 9 days, he wants to reveal blueprints, expose hidden motives, not as a church, and unveil the true nature of what's been presented to you. But he will not shout above your noise. He will wait for you to silence the distractions and make room for him. For some, this stillness will look like fasting. For others, it will look like turning down invitations, silencing your phone, or canceling unnecessary meetings. Not as a church. Whatever it takes to create spiritual space, do it. Because what God is trying to speak will protect you for the rest of the year. The things he wants to reveal during this pause will anchor you through future storms. This is not just about today. It's about what's coming next. When you are still, you allow your discernment to sharpen. You begin to see clearly. You begin to sense the difference between urgency and divine timing. The world tells you to move fast, but the Spirit tells you to move with wisdom. There is a supernatural strength that comes from being still, a knowing, a confidence, a peace that surpasses all understanding. That kind of peace only comes from presence, God's presence. So don't mistake stillness for stagnation. You're not falling behind. You're being filled up. You're being fine-tuned. You're being fortified. And what you receive in stillness will carry you further than any self-initiated progress. Be intentional with your atmosphere. Now make space for him, because the voice of the Lord in stillness is more powerful than 1,000 opportunities in noise. Trust the pause, embrace the quiet, and wait for his whisper. It will not lead you wrong. One of the most subtle yet destructive tactics the enemy will use during this July to 19 windows, emotional manipulation. Not just through circumstances, but through people, memories, and even your own internal dialogue. He is strategic in targeting your emotions, because if he can disturb your peace, he can cloud your discernment. And when discernment is clouded, obedience becomes delayed or misdirected. The enemy knows that if he cannot touch your calling, he will attempt to distort your confidence in it. During this sensitive time, you may begin to feel misunderstood, overlooked, or even abandoned. But these emotions are not a reflection of your reality. They are projections meant to distract you from what God is actually doing. The enemy plays with your perception, hoping to convince you that what God promised is no longer on the way, that the silence means abandonment, that the stillness means rejection. Not as a church, your current pause is proof that something is wrong with you. But here, Meg, none of that is true. What you are feeling is not always what is real. And that is why your emotions must not be the compass in this season. Emotional manipulation is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet self-doubt. Sometimes it's the urge to prove yourself when God is calling you to rest. It can be the temptation to return to something familiar just because you feel lonely, or the sudden pull to make a decision just to relieve internal pressure. Not as a church, but emotions make poor leaders. You are not meant to follow your feelings. You are meant to follow the Spirit. Your emotions are indicators, but they are not directors. This is the time to be rooted in truth, not tossed by emotion. God's word must anchor you deeper than your feelings can sway you. The enemy will try to magnify fear, insecurity, rejection, and urgency. But if you anchor yourself in God's promises, those emotional waves will not shake you. Declare his word over your life. Remind yourself daily of what he said, even when you don't feel it, especially when you don't feel it. Guard your gates. Guard what you listen to. Guard what you watch. Guard who you share with. Not everyone can speak into this moment of your life. Some voices will only echo your fear instead of strengthening your faith. Be careful who has access to your heart in this hour. Protect your peace with the same diligence you protect your purpose, because they are deeply connected. Remember, you are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are marked. The enemy wants your agreement, not just your attention. Don't give it to him. Choose truth over emotion. Choose stillness over reaction. Choose faith over fear. God is not moved by what you feel. He is moved by what he has spoken. And what he has spoken will still come to pass. Stay grounded. Stay guarded with God. If during the days of July 1 to 19 you begin to feel withdrawn, misunderstood, or even strangely isolated, don't resist it. Don't panic. Don't interpret it as punishment or as evidence that you've done something wrong. In fact, that isolation may be the clearest sign that you're in God's perfect will. Because during spiritually intense moments, God often pulls his chosen ones into a place of temporary seclusion, not to reject them, but to protect them. Separation is a language God uses. It's how he filters voices, distractions, and influences that could cloud what he's trying to say. When God sets you apart, it can feel lonely, but it is sacred. It is not about disconnection. It is about divine covering. When you are chosen, you can't afford to move with the crowd. You can't afford to be exposed when heaven is trying to shelter you. The people you were once closely aligned with may suddenly feel distant. Conversations that used to fill you may now leave you drained. Don't force what God is trying to quiet. Don't chase what he is creating distance from. In this time, God is hiding you in plain sight, and for good reason. There are assignments of confusion and sabotage that have been released in the spirit realm. The enemy is looking for openings through relationships, through social interaction, through emotional availability. And God, in his mercy, is closing those doors. He is creating a divine stillness, not just in your schedule, but in your soul. Do not mislabel this isolation as rejection. It is insulation. It is the hand of God shielding you from warfare you can't see. If he is pulling you back, it's because something ahead requires clarity that can only be birthed in solitude. Your sensitivity is increasing. Your spiritual ears are being recalibrated. You are being detoxed from voices that diluted your discernment. What seems like a dry place is actually holy ground. There are things God wants to show you in the quiet that he cannot reveal in the crowd. Visions, strategies, course corrections. During this time, keep your spirit open and your environment guarded. Make space for encounters. Prioritize presence over productivity. Now God is not just preparing a blessing, He's preparing all you for it. And if you rush out of this hidden season prematurely, you will step into a blessing unprepared and vulnerable. Embrace the hiding place. It is temporary, but it is transformative. You will emerge with clarity, power, and authority. This isn't isolation, it's consecration. And only the consecrated can carry what's coming next. Let God finish the work in the quiet. Not as a church. Let Him protect you while the storm passes, and trust that when the time is right, He will reintroduce you, not as you were, but as who you were always called to be. Every moment you live is not equal in spiritual weight. Some windows in time carry more significance than others, and July 11 to 19 is one such window. What happens in this span may look small on the surface, a conversation, a decision, a connection, but these moments will ripple into your future. This is not a week of randomness, it is a week of alignment and testing. The Spirit of God is inviting His chosen into precision. Every step, every yes, every no matters. Because what you choose now will either preserve your trajectory or prolong your wilderness. This is not to instill fear, but reverence. Reverence for the weight of timing. Not as a church, reverence for the path God has uniquely laid out for you. See, many doors will open during this time, but not all of them will be divine. Now, the test is not only about whether you can recognize the wrong path, but also whether you can discern the right thing at the wrong time. Sometimes the enemy doesn't come to stop you. He comes to push you too soon. And if you move ahead of God, you step out of the grace assigned to that season. Discernment in this window is not about seeing what is bad. It's about hearing the whisper, not yet. It's about trusting the Spirit when He tells you to wait, even when everything in your logic says to move. The enemy is hoping you will lean on your reasoning. He is hoping you will be tired of waiting and hungry for movement. But this is the hour where maturity is revealed. Immature faith jumps at everything that looks like favor. Mature faith asks, Lord, is this you? Even when the offer looks perfect, there is a blessing attached to divine timing that cannot be duplicated through human effort. If you trust the process, church, God will open the right door at the right moment, and you won't have to strive to keep it open. It will flow with peace. It will confirm itself through fruit. Not as a church, not just appearance, but if you step into something prematurely, you will have to sustain what God never built. And anything you build without Him, you'll be responsible to protect without Him. In this stretch of time, God is refining your sensitivity. You are learning to live not by impulse, but by instruction. You are being trained to move with heaven's rhythm and not man's pressure. This is why you may feel a tug to pull back, to pray more, to listen deeper. Don't ignore that tug. It is heaven preparing you for precision. The test is not pass or fail. It is reveal and refine. It reveals where your trust lies and refines your ability to follow. So embrace this sacred window with honor. Ask God not just to show you open doors, but to give you the courage to walk past the ones that are not for now. Trust that obedience in this moment will unlock provision, protection, and purpose for the journey ahead.